wall blew in the apartment and swept her 7-year-old out the back door into the river, where she was found miles away from the apartment. My husband tried to get the boat and rescue her and her daughter, but we had gotten there too late. By the time he was able to get her out of the apartment, when he got there, the water was so high and so strong, she was pinned up against the ceiling of the apartment. Debris was pushing up against her. She couldn't get out. If my husband hadn't gotten there, she would have died. Her head was almost completely covered. When they got into the boat, the waves were moving so strong and so hard, it just toppled this flat-bottomed boat. They got stranded in a tree for almost 2 hours, about 20 feet up in the air, before anyone could come and rescue them. Her daughter was her purpose, her life, and in seconds it was taken away from something that could have been easily prevented. She doesn't know how to even function at this point because everything was taken from her in a matter of seconds. Is there anything else you want me to say or add?
Do you want to say there's not a point in my day where I can't close my eyes and picture everything that happened? I constantly remember hearing my daughter's last call out for me, and I couldn't get her. It haunts me every day. And I can barely make it through a day, even being here, looking out at the park where she loved to play. It just breaks me. I can't even listen to songs or watch TV without thinking about her.
Lucy was a very unique little 7-year-old girl, and her biggest goal in life was she wanted to make change. At 7, she wanted to go to Yale so that she could solve crimes and save people's lives. The reason that Michelle is participating in this lawsuit is because she wants to make change so that no other family has to bury a loved one again on something that's so easily prevented. We're going to go ahead and let Tracy Gilborn speak.
Thank you.
A little closer. Okay. I am a survivor of the August 21, 2021 man-made tidal wave, which took the life of my late husband, Robert Scott Kilburn, at the age of 49, along with at least 20 other innocent people, when a levee broke underneath the railroad and a 6-foot tidal wave came through our town, and within minutes it began moving houses off their foundations, flipping vehicles, and taking almost everything within its path, including ripping children from their parents' arms and separating families, leaving many to be considered missing. I was one of those people. Some waiting to be rescued with the hope to be reunited with their loved ones, while families and bystanders were completely helpless and could not even rescue some of the survivors for up to 3.5 hours. Not only was I stranded on top of our truck alone after the tidal wave swept my husband right in front of me as he tried to save Regina Bragg, I also witnessed 2 others desperately trying to stay above the water, only to later find out none of them survived. I was in survival mode, knowing I could not swim, and I prayed for the rain to stop and the waters to go down, and to find my husband of 5 years alive, but that wasn't the case. It has changed my life and both our families' lives forever. Losing Scott on that tragic day, we will never be the same. I am and will be traumatized for the rest of my life with everything I witnessed on that day, the screams, the cries for help, and feeling so helpless myself, not only for me and Scott, but for others who survived and lost a loved one that day. I thought I was going to die, and even made a last phone call to my parents and children, telling them I loved them and my location, and that Scott had been taken by the tidal wave. Then the phones went down. I wasn't reunited with my family until 4:30 p.m., and Scott and I got separated at approximately 9:37 a.m. His recovery wasn't reported until later that night. To this day, rain causes me severe anxiety. I am here today to stand up for the 20 victims and their families who have suffered a great loss along with this whole community. I pray this never happens again in our small town. I feel the railroad is responsible and should be held accountable for this tragedy. May God bless everyone affected by this tragic event.
People in this community are hardworking, proud, caring people, and this event has scarred their hearts and minds forever, and we're honored to represent them, and we thank you all for coming. If anybody has any questions.
Sure. Can you talk about some of the evidence that you'll be able to put forward that the railroad company is responsible?
We're not going to talk about the evidence in the case today. The complaint speaks for itself, but we do believe that there was negligence, and we do believe that this was preventable.
Can you talk about then maybe when you started putting this all together and you say, hey, maybe we've got a case here? Can you talk about that?
We've done an extensive investigation of the past here, the past with CSX and other places, and we believe there is ample information currently available that shows their responsibility. And as we go deeper and deeper into this, into the legal process, we'll be able to discover exactly what internally CSX knew and when and where and why and what they did in response to that. So at this stage, we certainly believe that CSX holds legal responsibility here, and we think that we will only prove that further as time goes on.
Do you have a court date yet or anything?
No, sir. The complaint was filed today, so the defendants will be served. They'll have an opportunity to respond in kind. This is not something, I want to tell the community, that will happen quickly. Lawsuits take a while, as everyone knows. And this is a very significant case, so there's going to be a great bit of discovery and a lot to be done. So we ask for patience from the members of the community, and we're just happy to be able to try to do something on their behalf.
You mentioned defendants who, in addition to CSX, is named.
Yes, a landowner as well, whose property abutted the CXS railroad.
With this being such a tight-knit community, is there any concern about suing a landowner that's in this community?
Concern, we more talk about responsibility than concern. If we believe that someone is responsible for this, we think that, considering them in a lawsuit is the proper thing to do.
What would you say their responsibility is as it pertains to the lawsuit?
To make certain that their land is not filling the culvert with unnecessary debris that would allow this water to flow properly.
How many people do you have in the lawsuit so far? Do you have a number?
Well, currently there are 10 families we represent, and that involves 11 decedents. And in addition to that, I believe there are 17 individuals who are traumatized from either having witnessed a loved one die or being directly involved in the incident. So there's allegations in the complaint of emotional distress for those individuals. They're traumatized forever. This lawsuit does not involve property damage claims. So it is a claim involving death and personal injury. So I want to point that out.
What is your, I guess, your end goal with all of it, and your goal with the end goal?
Well, there's two end goals. One is to obtain compensation on behalf of the loss of life and the permanent injury. And the other is hopefully bring some recognition that something needs to change in order to ensure that this never happens again.
Our world, in the United States, the world is about justice. It's bringing companies and bringing justice to individuals. So really, the grand goal here is justice for all these people that are standing here,
Right.
for all these other people that we haven't even talked to, for a community, for a state, for our country. It's about justice. That's what we're really seeking here, is justice.
Do you think more families will be jumping on board this lawsuit?
That I can't speculate on.
I apologize, I missed it. Is there a number that you guys gave?
A number in terms of,
How much you're suing for?
The complaint seeks $150 million in compensatory damages and $300 million in punitive damages, and that's itemized in the complaint. The complaint has been filed as a public document, and it speaks for itself.
Last question or two?
Well, I'm just curious, I mean, obviously, you say you itemized it, but can you give us a little bit of an idea of how you reach a number? Because as you see people behind, it's hard to put a price on human life and family members and the emotion that's caused. So can you just kind of walk us through kind of that decision-making a little bit?
There's no way to quantify human life. It just will not happen. Having been a trial lawyer for many years, there's no way to do that. And there's not a single person behind us or who lost a loved one in this community who would take any amount of money for the loss of life. They would trade to get their loved one back in a heartbeat. There's no way to put a value on that.
I guess, I'm kind of saying, I guess, what number, did you meet with the family, did y'all all discuss it, and then came to this number?
yeah, we're really not going to discuss anything we talked about with the families. I don't think that's appropriate. But having said that, as Tim was saying, there is no amount of money that would ever take this away. We'd rather be able to say, hey, we'd like to go back to the day before this happened and put everybody back into that. But our legal system only allows certain things, so we're working within the confines of our legal system.
Thanks all.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you, appreciate it. Thank you all, by the way, for coming.
Within a second, we'll cut this about everybody leaves. Someone try to grab a few extra bites of other people here, but I can see it. Okay.
Okay, so, yes.